Hi Combabes, I hope you're all well. I have been very excited by this channel and the launch of it and everything, and I've been going through loads and loads of makeup, so I thought I'd give my skin a little bit of a break this week and show you my skincare routine instead. It's very basic, very easy to follow, so you'll be completely fine. But while I'm on the topic of self-care and treating myself, I also wanted to give my sizzling hot take on why I think self-care is also kind of useless and even sabotaging at times to make you feel better in this sort of unfair and disgusting and awful and depressing world. So let's get started. So, my name is Clementine, and there is no other way to put this. Like everybody else in society, I am probably depressed. So I'm just gonna own up to it and move on. This is a skincare routine that I do every week, although I haven't been doing it in the past few weeks, so there's like a lot of build up. So this is gonna be fun. I'm not showing this here, but I previously just washed my face with a light facial cleanser just to like clear a little bit of the dirt out, and it's much better if I start off with like a proper base as well. So against all odds, I'm actually going to put on a face mask. Yeah, it's a clay-based one to kind of just scrape out all the oil and dirt out of my pores. Nice. This one is pink clay, but I literally have so many. I was really obsessed with them for a certain period of time that I'm not going to specify. And I would buy loads and loads and loads, even though every single one of them was just kind of disappointing in the end. It didn't really like, you know, it was never the sort of miracle product. So I'm not gonna advertise for anything. They're all equally good or bad. Anyways, now you're probably wondering, why is she putting on a face mask when she literally said it was useless? Which, fair. But also this video isn't about arguing that face masks are useless on your face or whatever they do, even though I still kind of think that, but it's, you know, I still use them. This video is more about arguing that they're useless for whatever is happening here. Because there's definitely a growing culture around, you know, like beauty routines and taking baths and like meditating every day and like repeating a mantra or whatever. What I'd call self-care culture. And the people that talk about this stuff are like individual lifestyle gurus, or even like big institutions like universities, you know, during exam time, or like companies like Google who have meditation spaces and like space for yoga within like their own offices. And they're all really adamant that like, girl, if you take a hot bath tonight and meditate every day for 15 minutes and like repeat your mantra, blah blah blah, then you're gonna feel great. You'll feel great and you'll be glowing in the dark because you feel so great. And that's what I want to call out, because that is bullshit. It is full on bullshit. Full on. And listen, in this world, everything seems so depressing and precarious. You know, your studies, your job, your rent, your relationships. Every day it's like I have to spend so much energy holding myself together. So it's not like I don't need to take care of myself. You know, I work crazy hours and then I organize politically and then I have to maintain life admin and friendships and everything, you know? Every day is so close to becoming this sort of breakdown day, and sometimes I don't get out of bed because I don't have the strength to. Now, I've been told so many times with the best intentions, something like, honey, you need to take care of yourself, which is like, I mean, fair enough, but it, like, the solutions that are offered are consistently really like, one, individualized. You know, I do it on my own as if I'm the only one with these problems, and two, in the end, just kind of make me feel like I'm receding into this sort of fetal emotional position. So like, yeah, I mean, it feels good at that point, but it's not gonna change my mindset or almost even make me more capable of facing the next day. Do you know what I mean? I kind of see it as like stretching out my present condition as much as possible into time without really changing anything, just because slipping out of this state would be so destructive and feeling better is impossible. And with these little acts of kindness to myself, it just kind of feels like I'm, I don't know, like living from panic to panic, or like, you know, trauma to trauma, or crisis to crisis. I know I'm talking about something very serious, even though I have a face mask on, just like yeah, bear with me. Yeah, because I'm not like fully rock bottom, you know, I'm just feeling good enough to continue for another day and to continue like really destructive and exhausting routines. And until I'm not, then I just continue in this cycle without really feeling like happy or content. So I went through this entire process without actually realizing that my light was off. So yeah, now you can see my face better. You're welcome. And now that the mask has finally dried, I'm just gonna go wash it out with a warm towel and just a little bit of warm water, basically. Yeah, see you in a bit. Okay, my face definitely feels more fresh, but also more tight because it's been dried out. So I wanna reapply moisture into it, basically. That's gonna be my next steps. But before that, I'm gonna apply a little bit of tea tree oil just where I see some spots on my face because it helps basically like disinfect them and make sure that they don't like break out more right after a mask. So just a few drops. You really don't need much and it's very, very strong. Like you can smell it. It smells like very fresh. So yeah, anyways, sometimes I do take breaks and I run baths and, you know, I go to yoga and all that kind of stuff. But I don't want to be under any illusion that that's gonna help improve my life, like from the outside, because it's not gonna change this sort of insane, you know, unjust vampiric world out there that's just sucking the life out of me. You know, it's not gonna do that. I mean, that's why I don't trust this The next thing I'm gonna do then is reapply moisture, as I said, but I'm gonna start off with underneath my eyes because I feel like they need a little bit more attention than the rest of my face. And I'm just gonna use, you can't really see it here, but they're like little eye masks that you just put right underneath your eye, like so. And yeah, any brand is fine. It's okay. Do I look pretty? So yeah, let me tell you, it's not only pretty much useless, but it's also kind of detrimental to you. So like take Google for instance, and their little meditative yoga spaces they put everywhere. If I were an employee there and I was like unhappy, you know, overworked, underpaid, like most of their low-grade employees are, then if I go to HR and complain, they're not gonna be like, oh cool, we'll give you a raise then. No. They're gonna be like, oh, you feeling sad? Well, why don't you just like do more yoga? What I'm saying is, if it's taken as a thing that'll like promise to change your life, then it's an amazing justification for all the injustices that are happening today for them to continue. It's like the band-aid that justifies the pain. It's the, why don't you just do more yoga when all I want to do is not get forced into overtime every week and get decent pay for what I do, so I don't get stressed in the first place. And when I do get stressed, I don't want to de-stress just to maintain this precarious life that I live. That's why I want to end this trope of individualized, isolating care. No, I want care to bring me strength. I want care to bring me courage and hope and like support. This is why I want collective care. Okay, I'm just gonna take these off because they're pretty much done. And I'm just gonna absorb the remaining product, just like lightly massaging under my eyes, like so. It's better. And I'm just gonna put on a moisturizer that's a little bit more moisturizing than the one that I use normally, just because, again, like all the moisture has been taken out of my face. So what do I mean by collective care? Well, like several things. First, developing and relying more on support systems. I once had a friend who did this exercise with us to show us how networks of support worked. And basically, if a person at the center suffers some sort of trauma, so that was like, you know, physical shock, then the people holding on to them immediately would help absorb a little bit of that shock, like say 50%. And then the people attached to these people would absorb a little bit of that shock too, and you know, etc., 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 until the network end and people's trauma and pain would basically be distributed across the network so that you wouldn't have just one person taking it all in. I mean, yeah, and that's great, but it's not just that, because that doesn't change the conditions that we live in, and that's really what I want to focus on. I think this is just the first step, like a springboard that makes you feel more capable of then taking on more ballsy changes in your life or in the world around you. And that brings me to what I see as a really, really important but definitely underrated notion of care, which is enabling yourself and others to assess and change the world around you. At the risk of deconstructing yourselves almost and facing some sort of radical unknown as to what the future will be. So like, let's see it this way. If you go to therapy, you want to unlearn a lot of the unhealthy patterns that you've been experiencing in your life. Before you can get better, you have to kind of dwell in this really uncomfortable space where you have to relive some of the traumas that you've experienced and, you know, visit places and parts of you that you think are kind of ugly or scary or disgusting or whatever. And you have to face becoming someone who you have no idea who this person is. Does that make sense? Like staring into some sort of personality abyss. I mean, that's terrifying. But when you get out of it, you feel so much stronger and you are capable of like living a better life or like a healthier life mentally. Right, so depending on whether my skin is more dry or oily in that sort of space of time, I will put on some oil on my face to kind of lock the moisture in. Just a few drops, you know, nothing big. I usually either take like melon seed oil or rosehip oil, but as long as it doesn't cause any breakouts, to be honest, like you're fine using whatever. I mean, I was a big fan of coconut oil all over my face for a really long time, and you know, it was fine. And also for rosehip oil, I randomly was watching this YouTube video of Troye Sivan's like natural makeup look, and he literally used like the exact same rosehip oil as me. So I was like, doing something good. And when I take it, I just take a few drops, really less is more, and I put it in the palm of my hands, and then I rub it a little bit, and then I start applying it on the edges of my face first, so the places that are the most dry, and then when I'm basically almost done with the product, I also apply it around here. Doesn't smell very nice, but it's pretty effective. But yeah, I don't want just some sort of therapeutic, you know, life-changing things for individuals, because again, sorry to like rant on about this, but it doesn't change the world around you. No, I want to apply this principle to the world around me. And this is why I want to talk about collective action as a form of collective care. So like take rent strikes, for instance. Rent strikes are basically this giant f you to whatever like system of precarity that you're being forced into, right? It's like, I'm not going to participate in this anymore because I'm not going to pay my rent. And with it, we become vulnerable, right? So if like 100 people go on rent strike, they become vulnerable to a landlord having the legal right to evict them, even though there is strength in numbers, and even though this is where like, you know, the collective really comes in. But when they work, they make life so much easier. You know, you get rent cuts, you get compensation for whatever bad happened to you in that house. And yeah, it's just so much more like beautiful and more carefree to live in a world where you have gone through this and you have put yourself out there and to a radical unknown and gone out stronger as a collective, and also just changed the world around you. And the collective care that we give to each other in these times gets us through pain in very different ways, because at the end of it, there is something that you know that will change. So now I'm just gonna apply a little bit of my serum for pores, because I'm also obsessed with my pores, even though I keep on being told they're fine. After all this, if you want to continue like, you know, just treating yourself every once in a while, like that's fine. But a much better way to take care of yourself would be to join a group that fights for societal change, because together we can change so much and we can take care of each other so much. I usually finish off my routine with just a little bit of sunscreen on my face, because after all this, it's quite sensitive to the sunlight. So I'm just gonna apply it again, like on my face, like the rest of the 15 products. And I know that there's a lot of caveats to what I'm saying, like a lot, because the people who give care are most likely to be the ones that need it the most. So like women, especially women of color in the society, which means that organizing collective care is sometimes more draining for them and us than it is fulfilling. But I want to make a whole other video about that, so just bear with me. Whew. Okay, I am done. My skin looks really nice and glowy, so that's cute. I really hope you enjoyed this video because this topic means a lot to me. Let me know if you have any thoughts or questions for me, or if you've experienced the same thing maybe. And I also do genuinely want to know what your skincare routine is, because I feel mine has, you know, some holes or like some things that I'm not thinking about. So hit me up with those tips. And as ever, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and click the little bell thing so that you have a notification every time I post a new video. And yeah, that's about it. See you next week, Con Babes.